And for more insight, we want to welcome in retired Marine Intelligence Officer and co-host of the Strat podcast, Colonel Hal Kempfer. Thank you so much for making the time tonight.
Thank you, Natasha.
Colonel, does this represent a huge reversal for Zelenskyy because he had been diametrically, opposed to giving up land to Russia? Is this him saying that he would be willing to give up territory that Russia has already taken over in exchange key for that NATO membership that would cover the land that Ukraine still does have control over? And then essentially he tried to negotiate the return of that land later.
Natasha, it's a big change. It's definitely a shift in rhetoric. I had to listen very closely to what he was saying, though. And basically what he's saying is that it would be some sort of temporary ceasefire, maybe some sort of armistice. He's not necessarily ceding sovereign territorial control to Russia. That was something that was not on the table. And he did mention multiple times that no proposal like this has ever come to him. But it's basically talking about freezing in place the line, stopping what he calls the hot part of the war, basically stopping the combat operations. And then he talks about the umbrella of NATO. And whereas membership was brought up in the interview several times, he was very clear that membership was probably not on the table, but that maybe NATO could provide some sort of physical presence to stop Russia from further incursions into Ukrainian territory. It is an absolutely fascinating proposal, and I'm sure it's going to be a point of departure on future negotiations.
How realistic is it that Zelenskyy would successfully get Russia to give back any land diplomatically after he has sort of temporarily ceded it in a deal like this?
Oh, I think it would be incredibly tough to do that. Now, there is a pathway, and it's a very narrow one, and I don't think that Putin would be willing to do this, but they may be, maybe Zelenskyy is looking beyond Putin at this point to what regime comes next, would be to have the Russian forces pull out, have some sort of maybe UN or internationally monitored election in those oblasts, those provinces, those areas that Russia controls, and give them a chance for a truly fair and free vote to decide if they want to be part of Ukraine or Russia. I don't see Putin ever agreeing to something like that, or if he does, it'll be somewhere off in the future that we never see. But that is one way. And under the Ukrainian constitution, theoretically, that could be done. There is a path in there to do that. But under Russian occupation, it cannot be done.
Yeah, free and fair is not synonymous with anything that Putin occupies, certainly. 9 days ago, Russia used its new experimental supersonic missile. We're looking at some of these images on the screen. It does have nuclear capabilities. We already see Putin threatening to strike Ukraine again with the new missile. Do you think that this has anything to do with this latest move from Zelenskyy?
I think this is a little bit, but not much. This is an old ICBM. They kind of re-wickered to make it into a conventional intermediate range ballistic missile, of course, reminding everyone that the IRBM treaty has lapsed. That's another thing they did. And actually, I'm not quite sure how effective it is. It's very fast, but it didn't have any kinetic warhead. The kinetic energy was just basically the warhead with moving as fast as it was. There was no explosive force. So this definitely has propaganda value. I think what they're really looking at, though, is the transition. President Trump is coming in. There is an opportunity here. Obviously, Ukraine has always felt that there's also a good deal of caution because of the comments that both J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have made during the campaign about how they'd like to end the war. But they may see an opportunity. And I think that's probably has more weight on why you're seeing this now than certainly that missile does.
I do want to move to Israel with the time we have left. We are seeing this new Hamas propaganda video, this time with an Israeli-American hostage here. Is the terror group making a direct appeal to President-elect Trump? Because, if we are honest, they are likely dictating. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.